Hello everybody, I am Fuzzy Face. Welcome back once again to another episode of this Motorsport Manager career. We're back today with the official start of Season 4. Today will be the first race of the 4th season. Hoping to go ahead and try and somehow retain our championship. We won the Constructors last season. If you haven't seen the previous video, the last episode was the start of Season 4. It was a pre-season video where we went over all the new teams. Obviously Porsche have joined this series, all the changes that have gone into F2, the new teams there, all the driver movements. Our team, the Williams team, was the only team to retain their 2 drivers. Everyone else has pretty much swapped. Well, so we're just really going to jump straight in here. We've got some sponsorship offers to get done out of the way. We've got Toyota wanting to sponsor us again. They keep trying to sponsor us, but £5.5 million upfront payment for 100 races is not worth it at all. Tommy Hilfiger is offering 2.5 for 21, but Alliance, obviously, that is the best one to go for. It's a little bit of money into the team. It's going to last into next season. Other than that, we've got NEC coming up soon, Infinity coming up soon, and Johnny Walker. All should be changed by the end of the season, so we should have some new money coming in there. Meanwhile, I'm just going to go over a couple of other things that have changed a little bit that I didn't get to go over in the last episode. Since the last episode, it wasn't really a gameplay. It wasn't a gameplay episode. Everything was just the graphics that I'd made and going over the new teams and so on and so forth. What I have done is we've changed the prize fund. In Formula 1, it has risen from 500 million to 600 million. And then in Formula 2, it has risen from 250 million to 400 million pounds. Basically, what that is to do is to allow some of the smaller teams an opportunity to grow. Last season, towards the end of last season, I looked what Force India were doing. I think over the course of the season, they'd only built 2 new parts to go in their car. They were just stagnating. They were not building anything. I think it was the same for a couple of other teams that were down the order as well. Maybe I think Renault had only improved 3 of their parts over the season. Just really struggling to get a grip of finances. Just wasn't quite working out for some reason. They did have the money in the bank. I've upped the budgets for their team this season, so hopefully we're going to see some movement from them. Obviously, I'm going to edit their stats as well as the season goes on, going through into a new season as well, just to more replicate the teams bringing updates to certain races, as we do as well. We bring updates at the 4th race of the season. If you've watched my series before, you will know we introduce the first updates at Tondela, which is Aero updates. Then at Vancouver we can bring power updates, and then at Milan it's just free updates, and then Phoenix once again it's free updates there. But as it is, we are pretty strong this season. Our car is the 3rd best overall. Mercedes and Ferrari are better than us. Below us, just behind us, is Red Bull. Porsche not that far behind either. Porsche, the new team in our season of Formula 1 this season, they are still getting to grips with the rules. They have their own engine. Just storyline wise, obviously I can't change what the suppliers do here. We've moved over to Honda, which I can actually do because Honda are one of the engine suppliers available to us. Obviously there's no base stat modifier there. It knocks our improvability down, but we managed to get a little bit of the improvability back with a dilemma over the course of the pre-season. But as it is, we're 3rd best overall. Renault are 6th, McLaren 7th, Sauber 8th, ART 9th, and Haas, who are storyline wise, they have moved away from Ferrari. They have signed up with the new engine supplier for 2021, Cosworth, who were storyline wise, keep saying storyline wise, they were a latecomer into the new engine rules and put in an engine 4th. They supply a number of Formula 2 teams in this series, mainly the bottom of the run Formula 2 teams. So Haas could be in for a struggle this season, although if we head on over to scouting here, they do have Joseph Newgarden, who is actually rated as the best driver in the game at the moment, above Lewis, Vettel, Ricciardo, then Alonso. Max has made some massive improvements this season. He's jumped right up there. Obviously Force India changing to Porsche this season. Charles Leclerc's improving as well, and Alexander Rossi, who's in Formula 2 with Andretti as well, is one of the better drivers in the game as well. And Nick De Vries has made some really big gains as well, and he's at Volvo at the moment. So if we just head on over here, we'll look where we are comparatively to the rest of the teams. The engine, the Aston Martin engine that Red Bull have got this season sees them ranked first, Mercedes are second, Ferrari third, and then we see Alfa Romeo and ART, who are both supplied by Ferrari. They're 4th and 5th. McLaren have a Mercedes engine, but obviously they don't have the understanding of that Mercedes engine just quite yet of how to get it to work with their car, since it's their first season with the Mercedes engine after going back from the Renault engine. Porsche, who are new and have their own engine for this year, they're still struggling, and we have the Honda powered engine. We are currently 8th at the moment, a massive drop down considering last season we had one of the best overall engines, having the Mercedes engine and managing to make it better than the Mercedes Works team. Meanwhile, Renault are there 9th, still struggling with getting their engine up to scratch. And then we've got Haas, who obviously have the Cosworth engine. As for gearbox, we're 6th. Brakes, we have the best. The rear wing, we're 2nd. The front wing, we're 4th. And the suspension, we're 3rd. Suspension, that is where Porsche has really made their mark so far. Porsche overall 5th there. So Porsche, they're just really trying to get their foot in the door at the moment and building over the first 2 seasons, and will make a proper push for the championship. They might surprise people this season. Obviously they do, I think they're rated as having the best driver lineup in the game at the moment. I think they should do, since they have Vettel and Verstappen. They are obviously ranked 1st. Ferrari with Ricciardo and Charles Leclerc are 2nd, Haas with Roman Grosjean and Joseph Newgarden are 3rd, and Aston Martin with Alonso and it's Carlos Sainz in there are 4th, and Mercedes have signed Hülkenberg alongside Lewis Hamilton, they are 5th, and then we've got McLaren with Bottas and George Russell on loan from Mercedes, they're 6th. So yeah, so let's just get into what we need here. Obviously it's the aero parts we can upgrade first, going into... it would be Tondela, the Portuguese Grand Prix. I think it's a suspension. No, it's the front wing where we're lacking here. So we'll just get a front wing build going here. We can add plus 20 there. So that's what we're going to get to work on first. And let's just see what happens as we skip along here. And we've got the targets for the 2019 season. I think this season might be a little bit harder than last season, so we're not going to go for the option of saying we're going to come first, because if we say we're going to come first and then we're often finishing 3rd or 4th overall, we're going to find ourselves fired at some point this season. So we're going to go for 3rd overall, 2.28 million per race. It's a little bit less money. Hopefully it's not going to affect what we're getting per race too much here. As it is, we're losing 1.2 million pounds per race. We've got a lot of money in the bank, so I think we've got some room to work with the HQ. So let's just look at our drivers, because obviously when you build a HQ part, I'm not really bothered about what it brings to us building parts. It's more to do with how we can improve our drivers. And Lando Norris, his worst stat is adaptability, so that is what we want to focus on with the HQ. So that should be a telemetry center. Smoothness and consistency, no it's not. Is it the simulator? No, it's the simulator that does it. Consistency and adaptability there, the improvement rate goes up, so that's what we're going to go with. Possibly the only part with the HQ build we're going to build this season over the first half of the season, if we feel like we still got the money to go, because obviously we're going to be upgrading the car pretty rapidly over this season as well. So if we just move on, we've got a scouting report done, just scouting everyone in the game at the moment. And 3 up to 4 stars there. Where is he at the moment? He's racing AJ Foyt. He's someone to maybe think about introducing to an F2 team. And we get that front wing built, so we're going to jump straight in and build another new front wing as well and get that done. So we got plus 40 minus 10%, so there's nothing really there that we could actually go for. Is there anything higher up? That's risky. Not much improvement there, so we might as well just move straight onto a suspension part now and get a plus 20 going there. Also, the other thing I've changed just before we get to the race weekend is that when you start a new season, all the cars are just mismatched. They do have massive mismatches between the parts. What I have actually gone in and done, if we can just have a look here, is made all the parts equal at the start of the season. I've done that for every team across the board, just evened up all the parts. So once we do actually start the season, I've also improved the reliability of the AI cars as well. So every team are going to be starting the season with equal cars. It's just going to make it easier, and we're not going to have any massive mismatches between the teams, because it's more realistic when you go into a season. Both drivers are going to be starting the season pretty much basically with the same car. So here we are at the start of the race weekend. We're possibly, what we're going to go for, Alliance 14th or above £100,000. That's the best. We still have the pre-distributed tyre compound allocation. 5 of each dry race tyre for the weekend. It looks like we're going to have a rainy qualifying session. We're going to have a rainy race. So we're going to jump into practice, obviously skip over that as usual. We no longer have the 3 qualifying sessions in qualifying, so it's just going to be 1 session. I think it will be 15 minutes. It could be 12 minutes. I'm not quite sure. We won't even go back and look. We'll just jump straight into this race weekend. So hopefully we'll have a good qualifying session, and we'll be back in a second to see how our first qualifying session of the season goes here. So here we go with our first qualifying lap of the season. It's possibly going to be the only qualifying lap we show this session, as the second lap is going to be done under the rain. So this is going to be the lap that counts for everyone here. Obviously we've got Ferrari in here in front that's overtaken Norris, who's going a lot quicker than us. So hopefully we're going to be somewhere decent once this qualifying lap gets done. We're going to follow both of our cars over the line, and we'll keep the fun grid sort of a surprise until we start going through the grid. So hopefully we're going to be pretty quick. Norris is a long way off here. Ocon seems to be a little bit closer than Norris is at the moment, although we're going to be over a second behind both cars. Currently Ricciardo's on pole. But anyway, here is the grid for the 2021 Sydney Grand Prix here in Australia. Daniel Ricciardo takes the pole position slot here in the Ferrari in his first race. He is followed by Carlos Sainz in Ricciardo's former team, the Aston Martin Red Bull. On the second row of the grid, we've got the second Ferrari of Charles Leclerc, and then the second Red Bull of Fernando Alonso there in fourth. On the third row of the grid, we've got the 2 silver arrows, Lewis Hamilton and Nico Hülkenberg, looking a little bit off the pace from the Ferraris and the Red Bulls in the early part of the season here. And then on the fourth row of the grid, getting used to their return to Formula 1 after almost, it's like 50 years since they were in Formula 1, could even be 60, it's that long ago. But Porsche are 7th and 8th, with Max Verstappen beating out his teammate Sebastian Vettel here in the early going. Valtteri Bottas is 9th in the McLaren, followed by Esteban Ocon 10th in the Williams Honda Racing team. Obviously our partnership with Honda not getting off to the best of starts here. Then on the 6th row of the grid, we've got the Renault of Pierre Gasly, and he is followed by George Russell on loan from Mercedes in the McLaren car. Then we've got Joseph Newgarden, obviously this Haas car, the worst on the grid at the moment, but Newgarden manages to get that car up into 13th place. Pascal Wehrlein in the second Renault in 14th. Then we've got Stoffel Van Dorn in ART making their Formula 1 debut in 15th place. Alex Lynn in the Sauber is 16th. Sergio Perez in the second ART is 17th. Antonio Giovinazzi is 18th in the Sauber. And Lando Norris, an absolute nightmarish, that's all we can call it, qualifying session, 19th place for him, 1.5 seconds adrift. There's only Roman Grosjean in that second Haas car, 1.8 seconds adrift there. How much quicker was Joseph Newgarden? Look at that, 7/10ths quicker almost than Roman Grosjean. Absolutely amazing qualifying session there from Joseph Newgarden, but we need a really good start here. As we can see, we've got the new Renault livery working in the game as well. That's Pierre Gasly. We've got the new McLaren livery working here, which is white and orange. Getting rid of the orange-blue sort of livery that they had. Who else did we change? We changed the Porsche as well. The Porsche have got the black, grey and red, and there is the Haas car as well, who have gone gold, black and red. And that's showing up pretty well in the game as well. So hopefully we're going to get a good start here. We've got the 5 red lights on, and out they go, and away we go. We've got the Renault there of Pierre Gasly making a better start than Ocon. Ocon's off to a poor start, as is Lando Norris here, and we're having a nightmarish start to this season. And Norris currently right at the back here, behind the 2 Saubers. We can stop this race, but it just depends whether this rain is going to stop. We need to keep an eye on that. It looks like the rain could be stopping after lap 20. So if I see that this rain is going to stop, we do have some room to push on these tyres. As it is, until I know the rain's stopping, we're going to keep going with the 1 stop, because you can 1 stop on the Inter going Inter and then for another Inter. But as it is, Ocon is challenging here. That's Pascal Wehrlein in front in that Renault. And we've got Romain Grosjean up into 13th. He's jumped his teammate Joseph Newgarden here. And Carlos Sainz has managed to get himself out in front ahead of the two Ferraris here of Ricciardo and Leclerc. Hamilton has made a jump up the order to 4th, and Verstappen is currently 5th. And last year's Drivers' Champion Sebastian Vettel looks to be currently struggling in that Porsche Formula 1 car, whereas Ocon still behind Pascal Wehrlein here. And are we going to see that rain stop? Is it stopping right there? It does look to be stopping at lap 20. So what we're going to do is we're going to get attacking here. See if we can get Ocon moved ahead of the Renault of Pascal Wehrlein. Meanwhile, Norris is up into 18th here. We're going to get him pushing as well. See if we can move him ahead of Sergio Perez in the ART. There's Joseph Newgarden as well in front, who could be susceptible to an overtake here. His first season in Formula 1, obviously learning the ropes of these Formula 1 cars. A two-time Verizon Indycar champion. Currently in 16th in the Haas car. Can we get Norris in front of him? That's an amazing overtake from Norris. Can he make it stick? Can he get the second half of Romain Grosjean here as well? Looks like he's going to be able to make that stick. And there's George Russell just in front in the McLaren. Although Romain Grosjean switches back up the inside. Manages to retain that position there. Whereas Ocon, we've got him currently challenging Sebastian Vettel. Not getting to grips with this new Porsche Formula 1 car at the moment. Ocon tries to go the inside. Vettel trying to close the door. Looks like he's got it as Ocon. He gets it down the little hill over that sort of mini chicane. And we're in the spray of the Mercedes of Hulkenberg and the Renault of Pierre Gasly. Doesn't look like we're going to be able to make that move stick. So we're just going to start cooling down a little bit now. We'll start easing off a little bit. Hopefully we can get both of these cars up into the points before the end of the race. Currently stuck behind George Russell is Lando Norris. George Russell on his debut season in the Formula 1 team of McLaren. The Mercedes young driver on loan at McLaren this season will be hoping to make a big impression if he hopes to get the Mercedes seat in the coming seasons. Especially if the rumours are to be believed of a retirement plan from Lewis Hamilton, who is he's not struggling that much. As we see, there's not much of a gap between the top cars at the moment, although it's spreading out at the moment a little bit towards the back end, but it's still pretty close between the top 10, and hopefully we're going to see multiple winners this season. As we see at the moment, we've got Carlos Sainz, Danny Rick, Charles Leclerc, Hamilton, all split by just 2 seconds here as we head into lap 5. And Ocon is under pressure from Fernando Alonso in that Red Bull, who made a nightmarish start. But he's starting to move himself back up the order here. Ocon currently in 10th place. Norris is still stuck behind George Russell here, although he's diving up the inside. And Norris makes that move stick wonderfully there. And there we see 19 degrees. So these tyres are going to cool down whilst we run them in neutral. We'll just try recover the fuel for a bit, and we're going to be wanting to make our second push a little bit later into this Grand Prix. If we can move on 3 or 4 laps before we start pushing once again, maybe even just 2 if we can get to pushing, because we do have an ART of Stoffel Van Dorn in front of us. Obviously the Ferrari power in that ART car should be good enough to stay out in front of us here. I think it's Ferrari powered. I can't even remember who I went with the power for the ART car. Having just looked it up, they do have the Mercedes power in the car. Don't know why I was getting confused that I'd given them the Ferrari engines, but it is Mercedes who ART have gone with. Obviously that was our engine supplier last year. We are currently with an underpowered Honda, which we're hoping to bring back into top form at some point. Hopefully we can get some engine upgrades built this season. As it is, we're currently struggling at the moment just for points. As it is, obviously the top 4 above us, obviously Porsche, Red Bull, Mercedes, Ferrari, a lot stronger this season than they were last season. We're once again sort of playing catch up for a little bit. Looks like we've got a little respite in the rain here, so we're going to get back to pushing for a little bit. Whilst there's a little respite in the rain, hopefully we can get some moves made. Hopefully we can get past this ART of Van Dorn now, as we give Norris the power to try push past him, although Van Dorn does a good job of defending there. If we just speed this up a little bit, Ocon is sort of getting back onto the back of the Mercedes. As we see Norris there, has he got past Van Dorn around that hairpin corner? Have we got the speed over that Mercedes engine? The Honda seemingly holding off there, and Norris complaining that he can't really get past Verline, although he's only just made the move on Stoffel Van Dorn. It looks like he's got the Renault here, as he no. Verline goes wide there, almost cuts Norris off to hold that position of 12th place, but Norris is moving back up the order here pretty well, and we're sort of getting to the area. We've done about half of this tyre, so we could start thinking about getting off this tyre any sort of time. We can do about 14 laps, so if we aim for about lap 10 or 11, since the rain's going to stop right at the end, there's going to be a period of the race where we can get back onto a dry tyre, as Norris has now made that move on Verline. Vettel struggling in this Porsche car outside the points. Verstappen currently 5th. The top 3 still split by 2 seconds, whereas right at the front we've got Sainz and Ricciardo battling away here. Ricciardo not that far behind, about to set his quickest lap, although that everyone should be setting their quickest lap of the Grand Prix since the rain has pretty much stopped here. And it looks like Norris is going to get onto the back of this little pack now. We've got a nice little pack that's formed between Hulkenberg, Gasly, Alonso, Ocon, Vettel, and then back to Norris, and it looks like Verline and Van Dorn will be joining the back of this soon. So hopefully we can take advantage of this and sort of get past Pierre Gasly. There's Alonso in front as well, who's right for the pickings as well. Norris is right on the back of Vettel though as well. Ocon meanwhile is into 9th. He's managed to get past Pierre Gasly there. Norris is going up the inside of Sebastian Vettel here. Has he got the run on last year's champion? That Porsche engine is just a little bit better than the Honda one at the moment, as Porsche are new to building engines in Formula 1. This is their first effort, whereas Honda have had 4 or 5 years experience now. But Norris and Vettel going head to head here. We'll lose it in the spray of Verline there, but it looks like Norris has carried the speed down here to get past Vettel, and Vettel coming. No, Vettel puts his foot down coming out of that corner. It's a straight race between Norris and Vettel, and Norris makes that position stick here, and we're getting into the sort of areas now, pushing these tyres all out to gain these positions. No, we can just keep pushing here. These tyres are overheated. We're going to get one of these cars into the pits. Which one are we going to get into the pits first? Norris is under pressure. Ocon's sort of being held up at the moment. And not really, as we see Alonso start pulling away. So we're going to get Ocon into the pits for his intermediate. And we're going to go balanced here. No point even risking a fast. So we're going to go around. We're just going to start conserving a little bit. We don't want these tyres to go. These intermediates can run. I'm not quite sure. It might only be 10% with the inter, so we might even need to be a little bit careful. How far apart are our cars at the moment? A little bit too close. We would possibly have to double stack if we brought them into the pits. Although there's almost 2 seconds between them, so we're just going to do this just in case these inters sort of run out. If we can sort of create a little bit of a gap so we're not quite double stacking and then get neutral. We should get Ocon just out. No, and the mistake on the double stack there. Just what we didn't want for Norris, but hopefully it's not going to be too much of a problem here. We're going to get attacking here just so we can get like an undercut working on this inter, whereas we're now on nice fresh inters. But we lost about 2 seconds on that pit stop for both of our cars here. We sort of done a really good job of recovering, although Ocon had lost places since the start. But we've done a good job with recovering with Norris. But obviously that pit stop went a little bit awry there. We can't push this tyre quite the same here. We only managed to get 10 laps out of the first car. No one's actually pitting here. We only managed to get 10 laps out of that first tyre. And it doesn't look like anyone's pitting here in the early going. So we're going to be able to start catching the front here. We're sort of holding pace with Carlos Sainz at the moment. Giovinazzi dives into the pits in the Sauber car. He's currently running in last place, and our Williams cars go through there. Although Norris is not that far in front, neither is Ocon of the Sauber. This field is quite closely packed together at the moment. But we've got a lot of clear air to run in here at the moment, and we're just going to keep pushing until we start seeing some of these other cars start to come into the pits. Hopefully this undercut starts to work and we sort of make a little bit of amends for the mistake that we... And Daniel Ricciardo has crashed. There's a safety car out, which is what we didn't want. Danny Rick in his first race for the Ferrari has crashed, so we're going to get low and low. We're a little bit too far away from the pit stops. Everyone's going to get to dive in, although all these front runners, it's sort of messed their race up because they're going to get into the pits earlier, and it's sort of messed up us up a little bit as well, as we're going to be behind the rest of the pack now. Totally wrecked by a safety car here. Trying to get an undercut working, and then we get a crash. and that puts us effectively in 17th, and that is going to be 19th for Norris. So I don't think, yeah, we're not going to be able to pass the other cars as well. We're sort of speeding past the safety car here as everyone else tries to join the field. The front runners are going to get in and out of the pits as well. So we've really got some work to do here if we want to move back up the order here. We're just going to let the safety car come into the pits, and we'll resume with this race in just a second. So the safety car's speeding away here, so we're going to get into attack mode on these tyres. Obviously, now that we've had a few laps under the safety car, we should be easily able to make it until the point of the race when we can switch to a dry tyre. We're going to go for a super soft at that point. But here we go, the race is back underway, and we've got some real work to do if we want to score points. Obviously, we should be quicker than the Sauber here of, yeah, we get past the Sauber of Alex Lynn. We've got the Haas of Roman Grosjean in front. We should be able to beat the Cosworth powered Haas here, but Ocon are seemingly struggling there, and Norris is currently tucked up behind Joseph Newgarden here, obviously in the worst car, but Newgarden the best driver currently in Formula 1, and Norris makes that move stick, and can he get the run on Alex Lynn here as well? Obviously our Honda powered car is not as strong as it was last season in a straight line. We sort of struggled to get past the Ferrari powered Sauber there, but we do make that move stick. We don't want to let these tyres get too overheated as well, which is going to bring them back just above optimum, and then we'll sort of figure out where we're going from there as regards to making our last pit stop of the race. But as it is, we're up into 14th and 16th now. We've got a ART of Sergio Perez in front of us. We should be able to catch that, and that's his teammate as well, Stoffel Van Dorn, who he's fighting with at the moment. So we should be able to take advantage of that pretty soon. And then it's a pretty close battle between Pascal Wehrlein in the Renault and George Russell in the McLaren. So we should be able to get back up towards the points here, and hopefully we're going to score points as we go up the middle of the two ARTs, it looked like there. Although Ocon backs out at the last second. Have we got the run on the Mercedes-powered ARTs here? Obviously struggling with their downforce a little bit. They're not as quick in a straight line, even though they've got that Mercedes engine. And that was Perez just dropping back there. But Ocon moves himself brilliantly up into 10th place. And we're just going to switch down into higher medium. We're going to save our fuel for later on in the race, maybe, is what we're going to go for here. We're ahead of the ARTs. We're just going to switch and cool down a little bit for a few laps, just sort of figure out what we want to do. We're currently on lap 18. It could be maybe lap 21 that we want to get off this tyre. So only 3 more laps to do on this tyre, so we might as well get pushing. We'll just get to the end of this lap and then we'll resume pushing again. And we're going to have the fuel as well to keep going in high mode as well. But Norris is just about there as well, so we might as well get him pushing at this moment. See if we can clear these ART cars with him as well. Perez and Van Dorn are still battling amongst themselves, which should put them easy pickings for Norris in this Williams car. Hopefully we're going to be able to make that stick. Meanwhile, we've got Wehrlein and Russell to pass if we want to get up into the points. It's going to be all important, the timing of our last pit stop, if we want to somehow get back up into the points. Meanwhile, the front here just split by the top 10, currently still only split by 7 seconds after that safety car. Carlos Sainz managed to get himself into the lead early on in this race. He's still making that work out for him pretty well here. He's in front of Lewis Hamilton, who's half a second behind. Charles has been up there in third pretty much all the race. Verstappen in the Porsche is currently fourth. Alonso in the second Red Bull is fifth. We've got the McLaren of Bottas in sixth currently. The Mercedes of Hulkenberg. The Renault of Gasly. And then we've got Vettel up into the points in the Porsche. But Ocon should be sort of getting onto the back of this battle now, whereas Norris is still, he's got past one of the ARTs, managed to get past Sergio Perez. Lewis Hamilton sets the quickest lap of the race. But Norris, meanwhile, he should be able to get Stoffel Van Dorn some point soon, as this rain is rapidly starting to stop here. So are we going to get in early here, the rain? Are we going to be on the crossover point? There's only a few laps left. This super soft tyre does have a lot of life in it, over and above what will be happening in this race. So should we get onto the super soft? Obviously, the crossover is somewhere below, about 30%. So we could get into the pits this lap. Is anyone? And Lewis Hamilton has managed to get past Carlos Sainz. Sainz has finally lost the lead in this Grand Prix, although Red Bull should find themselves at the top of the Constructors' Championship after this race, if they can hold on to these positions, because Hulkenberg's struggling in that second Mercedes. But it doesn't look like anyone's going to pit this lap. We might take the risk with Norris and get him in early. although it looks like a few of the Ferraris are going to come in and pit. We're going to see a few cars pit. We're going to keep Ocon out. Meanwhile, he's going to push for this one extra lap. See what we can do on the wet tyre. We're going to split strategies with our Williams cars. Seemingly everyone's in. We've got a few cars double stacking here. We've got like the Renaults, the ARTs, and we've got the Saubers all double stacking. We go wide with the Saubers as they're going to come down to the end of the pit lane, and we managed to move Norris up the order a little bit here, which is brilliant for him. So we're going to get in with Ocon at the end of this lap as well. We're going to keep pushing on these super softs meanwhile. So luckily we had a decent pit stop there. So Norris could be in with chance of points here. So we're going to get him going in overtake mode. See if we can get him somewhere close to Russell. Meanwhile, Ocon is going to follow around here. These tyres are going to last this lap. We're going to get him pushing. Hopefully what we're doing at the moment. See, Norris is actually catching. He's sort of holding pace at the moment with the car out front. So it looks like the Inter's just about switched off here. So if we get Ocon in, he's got room to push on this tyre as well. So Ocon's in and out cleanly. We've got the Red Bull. Who is that in third? Verstappen. That's a Porsche going through. And Ocon just gets out in front of George Russell there. So he's going to keep pushing as well. Norris, meanwhile, this tyre is pretty much overheating here. We're going to switch down a little bit. We've somehow managed to get both cars back into the points here. We currently got Norris behind last year's champion Sebastian Vettel, who's struggling in this Porsche a little bit more. Well, Verstappen's not even really struggling at the moment. He's up there. Carlos Sainz, for some reason, in the Red Bull went for a medium tyre. And Pierre Gasly came in and went for the hardest tyre compound of the weekend, which should see Norris able to stay in front of him here, being on the quicker tyre. Obviously, they're hoping that once this super soft tyre sort of wears off a little bit, they're going to get to keep pushing on that soft tyre towards the end of this race. And I guess that's a problem with the front wing of Norris, but he's going to be able to get that going and keep it going until the end of the race. We're just going to switch off with Ocon at the moment. I don't think we've got much chance of catching the Mercedes of Hulkenberg in front, who's currently set the third quickest sector in Sector 3, the quickest sector in Sector 3. Get that the right way around there. But Norris, we should be able to hold off Pierre Gasly here. I don't think we can really think about closing down the Porsche of Sebastian Vettel, so it's mainly just our just going to have to really hold off Pierre Gasly there. Ocon, meanwhile, he's going to be holding off Vettel. Vettel's managed to get past Russell here, so Russell is in front. What is Russell doing at the moment on 126? He's quite a bit quicker at the moment. He's gone through a little bit more of that tyre, so should we just cool off here a little bit and then get Norris pushing for the last couple of laps? And maybe do the same with Ocon. We'll just try cool these tyres down a little bit, and then we can spend the last 3 laps just pushing this tyre all out, even though this is going to cost us performance wise at this little junction of the Grand Prix. If we can get then into pushing, Vettel is coming up on us quick though, and that is what we're going to have to watch out for. We're just outside the red here, so we can go back to pushing all out with this tyre. I'm just going to keep it going with Ocon a little bit longer. We are currently quicker than George Russell, so if we get going now with Norris, seemingly, hopefully we can catch George Russell before the end of the race, maybe move up one more position. As it is with Ocon, we're going to get him pushing now. He's all out at the moment. His last lap was a 127.1, so he's improved. He should improve this lap as well, since he's got room to push for a little while longer. Norris, meanwhile, he was quite a bit slower than George Russell on the last lap, but obviously he's pushing now. He's almost 7/10 quicker this lap, about to set his quickest lap of the Grand Prix. So as it is, we're going to churn through these tyres pretty quickly because they are overheated. We might need to start cooling them down. We're 1.7, and we might even need to turn down another front wing. Should do here. 1.5 behind the McLaren, so maybe we're going to just have to switch off here. I don't think we're going to be able to catch George Russell. We don't want these tyres to sort of fade away, so we're just going to sort of recover for a little bit, and if we can get going on the last lap, that is what we're going to go for. Ocon, meanwhile, does a 126.2, slightly faster than Sebastian Vettel. A 1.5 second gap there. Should see Ocon hold on to this 6th place. A good recovery from him, considering what happened to us under the safety car. Norris, meanwhile, we're sort of cooled down here a little bit, and we're getting close to George Russell as well, so we're going to risk it here. We're going to go all out. We should be far enough ahead of Pierre Gasly, although there's not a lot left in this tyre, although we've only got 1 lap here. Is it going to hold out? If it goes below 20%, we're going to start slowing down, which is what we don't want. We Yeah, we're going through this tyre a little bit too quickly. We're going to have to give up the ghost on chasing down George Russell here. We're just going to have to maintain and hope that we can keep this tyre going. Meanwhile, Ocon's overheated on his tyre as well. We're going to have to make sure he can get that to the end of the race, although he can now switch to overtake mode. Although hopefully, there being such a disparity on what we're doing with the driving style of the engine mode, we're not going to crash here. Vettel is closing in, but I'm hoping we can keep this going for the last few corners. We're at 23%. We should be able to keep it going. Vettel is closing in, but Ocon's going to hold on for 6th place here. Norris, meanwhile, he's managed to get past Russell. Has Russell's tyres gone? Has Russell gone? Yeah, Russell's tyres have gone. McLaren misjudging there. And it looks like Gasly's going to get the run on him to the line. Not quite. Gasly finishes 10th, so we actually moved up there. Thanks to McLaren fading away at the last second. Lewis Hamilton wins the first race of the season for Mercedes. Carlos Sainz in the Red Bull 2nd. Max Verstappen gets a debut pole in the Porsche. 3rd place for him. Fernando in the Red Bull 4th. Nico Hülkenberg in the Mercedes 5th. Then we've got our Williams 6th and 8th. Vettel in the Porsche 7th in his debut for the team. George Russell his Formula 1 debut 9th. And Pierre Gasly his debut in the Renault 10th place there. And ART not doing too badly with an 11th. And Charles Leclerc going wrong somewhere. I don't know whether he got caught out by the safety car or what. But Ferrari, both drivers finishing outside the points. Obviously, Danny Rick crashed on lap 13. Joseph Newgarden, the best driver overall stat-wise in the game, finishes 19th in that Haas, beaten out by his teammate Roman Grosjean. So a pretty good first race there we've seen. It could be pretty interesting as to who's going to be finishing on the podium each race, although Mercedes look to have the edge here, as once Lewis got past Carlos Sainz, he managed to get a 6-second gap to 2nd place. And yeah, the possibly would have been a different result without the safety car if Danny Rick hadn't crashed. But that is how things go. We're currently 6 and 8 with Ocon and Norris. And as it is, we finished 4th, 1 place behind where we were expecting to be. As regards to Frank Williams, he wants us to finish in the top 3. But as it is, Mercedes are currently leading. Red Bull 2nd with 30 points. Porsche doing well in their debut, 3rd for them. Ferrari struggling with 0 points. Obviously, they will pick up as the season goes on. Renault have 1 point and McLaren have 2. So 6th and 8th is not a bad finish compared to where I thought we might be. And we've got some problem here with Esteban Ocon as well. It looks like he's got a dodgy neck, but yeah, it's a little bit better. 6 and 8 is not too bad compared to where I thought we were going to be, compared to the strength of the top 3 teams of Mercedes, Red Bull and Ferrari. And then we've got Porsche thrown into the mix as well. We just check on Ocon here. Yeah, he does have a dodgy neck, which is going to affect his fitness in the upcoming races. I think it lasts 10 weeks. We lose £1.1 million. It's going to cost us 17. It's 1.1 and change, so possibly about 18 million over the season. We're going to be building parts, so I don't think we're going to be able to build much towards the HQ. But anyway, we get into the first Formula 2 results of this season. We get Dan Ticktum winning in the Toro Rosso. We get Robert Kubica 2nd in the Infinity Dams. And then we've got Jack Aitken in the Andretti F1 Auto spot there. Obviously, one of the things I can't change in changing the databases is the team logos, because they are sort of locked away in an asset file that I don't know how to access to change the logos. So you just have to, yeah, just imagine that says Andretti there. But Jack Aitken finished 3rd, Callum Illett in the Jaguar 4th place, Nick De Vries in the Volvo Polestar there in 5th place. Kyle Kaiser not doing too badly in the Arden, considering the original F2 teams are quite a long way behind the new teams. Obviously Fittipaldi in the Prema, although the Prema are a little bit better than the other teams at the bottom because they do have a Ferrari engine in there. Marcus Ericsson in the Volvo doing pretty well. Sergio Sette Camara in the Carlin doing really well as well. And Nicholas Latifi there in 10th. So where is that second BMW car? Kevin Magnussen 13th there. Not a good day for him at all. We've got a few of the big teams here finishing outside the points. Pietro Fittipaldi in the Toro Rosso outside the points. Alexander Rossi outside the points in the Andretti. Brendan Hartley outside the points as well. And Makino in the Infinity Dams team there. He shouldn't actually be there. It should be someone else in the Infinity Dams car. So I'm guessing that Infinity have swapped their drivers over since I changed the drivers. They've actually swapped their drivers over. There should be someone actually different in that Infinity Dams car. And as we see, Toro Rosso are currently winning in Formula 2. Infinity Dam 2nd, Volvo Polestar 3rd, Andretti 4th, Jaguar 5th, Arden 6th, and BMW currently in 9th. They do have the strongest car and one of the stronger driver lineups, but they're struggling at this point in the season. So I'm just going to go and have a look at the Dams team and see what they've done here. They've put Rosenquist in the reserve seat for some reason. I don't know why they've changed that over. Obviously, I'm going to swap that before the next race. I'm going to put Rosenquist into this seat if I can go ahead and do that. It's a little bit tricky though. I don't know why he's been put in this reserve seat. He doesn't have a reserve contract. I don't know why they swapped him over. But anyway, that is something to look into for the next episode. We're just going to go ahead and finish with the interview here with David Coulthard. Engine seems to be holding the team back. We'll just say that one because it never upsets them. The other one upsets marketability and the chairman happiness, so we won't go for that. We've got the neck issues that we know about and the hard-fought win for Hamilton in Sydney. So that is going to be it for this episode. We've got Doha coming up next race. That is going to be gearbox front wing heavy. So gearbox is Ferrari, front wing is Ferrari. So it could be another race where Ferrari sort of dominate, unless we get their poor performance like Danny Rick crashing and Charles Leclerc messing up. I don't know how he actually messed up in that race. Maybe a mistake in the pit stop. It shouldn't have been too fixed apart. Maybe he just got caught out by the safety car. I don't think he did. But whatever it was, hopefully Ferrari are going to recover. And we're going to get a nice tight battle for the championship here. Obviously Ferrari are going to come back, and we've got Mercedes, Red Bull, Porsche and us hopefully battling it out for the title here as this season goes on. But anyway, that is it for this episode. A pretty good race. Hopefully going to be a pretty good season. But until next time, I'll see you down the road in Doha, and goodbye.